Guys, welcome to the Too Much Test podcast, episode number 48. I'm here with Sam Stolt. My name's Tester Levels. If you want to check out more of us, there's links back down in the description. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok. We've got some companies here. So what's going on, Sam? How's it going?
Cheers, bro. Good to see you. Episode 48, dude.
That's a lot.
48 episodes. Wow. And it took us probably about a year and a half or 2 years to get to 48 episodes, right?
Something like that. Well, yeah, we typically do them once a week. I mean, we fluctuate a lot, but
we do. But I've been enjoying the episodes that we've been doing. I would probably enjoyed all of them, but the ones we've been doing lately, I feel like I've been enjoying them a lot more. And it's only been maybe a month and a half or so, but we've been doing, what has it been, 3 or 4 times we've done this, where it's been more consistent of us doing them. And I'm liking the flow that we're getting into. If you guys are liking the flow and you're enjoying the content, leave us a review. That's actually how we grow. So if you get value out of the content, we got some really good stuff today where we're going to cover the psychological benefits associated with eating meat, right? You can tell your wife that. Super good stuff.
Yeah.
Also, if you guys
actually kind of wanted to, oh no, go ahead, Sam.
I was gonna say, if you guys want to check out their sponsors, HC Games got some good stuff over there. Can't leave those guys out. Check them out for some cool stuff. Or thetriggerbrand.com, also some really good stuff over there. Go ahead.
I was going to kind of open with, Leo and longevity. I know a lot of people have talked about it. Pretty bizarre situation, and I watched a lot of Tony's videos. I watched a lot of people on that. If you're not familiar, Leo was like really into like longevity, biohacking. Like he dug deep into like the pathways of all the different compounds and how they affect stuff. And he was apparently living with Tony Huge, and they were making a lot of content. And he was basically found dead, in his bathroom inside Tony's house. And it's a really weird situation. So I didn't know if you saw that or if you had learned anything or any insight on it.
I never really paid super close attention to Leo and his YouTube channel. I know it was like very popular and had similar style where he'd get into the research and stuff, but I never watched a ton of his content. Super not cool. He's passed away, right? The first thing that jumped into my mind, right, is something related to drugs. Which I still believe it is. However, I can say that I haven't watched any of the content. I don't have a relationship with Leo. I barely have a relationship. I mean, with Tony, like every once in a while we'll talk or something like that, but I have not asked about any of this stuff. What was your take on seeing the content around Leo and like what Tony's version of reality was?
Well, it was pretty interesting. So I guess, I guess supposedly time-wise, they thought that he died like on a Friday night, and he wasn't found until Monday. And I guess Tony was out for most of the weekend, and I guess he had heard him like messing around with the toilet, and they found him dead in his bathroom with like the door was closed, so he was basically like sealed in because his body was against the door, I guess. And I guess he wasn't massive, but he was a pretty good sized dude to where it'd be tough to get in. And like some of the lines behind the toilet were like broken, and he had tools and stuff, and the toilet was off the setting. I guess in Thailand they don't like bolt them down. I guess they just glue them on or something. And you mentioned drugs, and that's what a lot of people said, but Tony said he didn't do recreational drugs. Like he had some like bipolar and like some other like mental stuff. But he wasn't into recreational drugs outside of like nootropics and gear and stuff like that. So it's a really bizarre situation.
Have you ever been around somebody that's bipolar?
I mean, I've never dated anyone that's bipolar, and I don't know if any of my buddies are. There's some crazy fuckers, but I don't know if they're bipolar.
My younger brother was bipolar, or at least that's what the claim was. A lot of like diseases and stuff like that I don't really believe in, that like you can prevent them kind of thing. But anyways, like that's what doctors have told him. And you get these like extreme bouts of euphoria and then you get the very low lows too, of feeling like crap and things like that. And you come down on those. And when you go through and you experience those things, like my brother didn't really do drugs, but when you're in manic, like there's no way that you can actually have a conversation with somebody when they're like that. It's not that they just don't comprehend like the language, or it's not they're not there in some way, shape, or form. And we, think about it, but my brother actually passed away and
wow.
by taking too much drugs.
Oh shit.
It wasn't like people thought he was taking a lot of drugs or anything. It was that he was manic and he took a lot of drugs. Right.
Wow.
Like so
That recently?
4 or 5 years ago.
Oh wow. Okay. I was gonna say like fentanyl or something like that, because that's just like rampant these days.
Cocaine.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. You don't hear about people like ODing on coke, but I mean, you can throw out your heart. I mean, it's a pretty hardcore stimulant.
Yeah, and then so like when somebody's manic, right? I don't know, and you see that for the first one. Now, obviously, you're biased because you're like, okay, cool, that's somebody that's close to you, and you see the experience of what that's like going through, or from like the far, but you're like watching it kind of thing. That was like I just got the sense that there's more to that than what's letting on, right?
Yeah.
If you are making your living talking about making money, do you think that you make probably money and you like know different ways of making money, and you try different ways of making money, and you try different businesses to make money? And if you do it for a long enough time, and if you're slightly competent, I would just say if you do it for a long enough time, you don't even have to be super competent, because you just do it for a long enough time, you will learn how to make money, right? When you go into biohacking, steroids, longevity, and you go into the depth at which the perception was from afar, because I didn't watch his content.
Yeah.
That Neil was like very deep into biohacking and all these different drugs and all these different things, right? Like that. And then you do that for a living to make money.
Yeah.
Learning, talking about your experience, talking about your research. I don't know. I have no idea what actually happened, but like, it just seems like, you know what I mean? If you're talking about something every single day, all the time about this thing, like, I don't know.
It's possible. Yeah. Though no one really knows. I guess they're waiting on the toxicology report. One of the things I found that was pretty interesting was some other guy, Nick something, made a video on it, and people in the comments were like, Tony's story doesn't line up. Tony's this. Tony probably killed him, got jealous, and this. Like, it was like a lot of people like commented shit like that, and I'm like, God damn! Like, hey, you don't know the situation. And I've met Tony. I met Tony in person at the Mr. Olympia, and he's one of the few influencers that you can actually like message on Instagram, and he'll like talk to you. Not always. I mean, he's got shit to do, and he's in Thailand, but. I mean, I met him at Mr. Olympia, and EA had this like sick booth. It was like 2 stories. It was like the best booth at Mr. Olympia. And so I talked to Tony for a few minutes, and then like he had to do a meeting with someone, and then like 2 days later, he like randomly wrote me an Instagram message, and he's like, "Oh, so sorry, I couldn't really like talk to you longer, and I was just really busy." And I was like, "Bro," I was like, "You're fucking running an event. You have like a $200,000 booth, and you have like," I was like, "Don't worry about it, dude." I was like, "You're good." He just seems like a really nice, genuine guy. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's a clown because of his persona," but he seems like a super nice guy, at least in my experience.
I talked to Tony. I actually have Tony's phone number, but I not that I text him often, but like I've talked to Tony probably a decent handful of times, greater than like 5 to probably greater than 10 times that I've spoken to Tony, and I get the same type of thing. He seems like a very good, open-minded individual that is like willing, to share the truth, but also willing to understand somebody else's truth, and whether you accept that as part of your reality or you just allow them to like share their truth, and maybe that's valuable to somebody else if you're sharing content and stuff like that. And I've got respect for that, because there's a lot of people that would much rather try to tear somebody down then be open-minded enough to listen to somebody else's truth, even if they don't agree with it, right? And you know what I mean? And I've got respect for that.
Yeah, seems like a super nice guy. Wanted to give you an update. I'm taking 2 compounds that I've never taken before. I've taken semaglutide and MK677. I'll start with MK677. I've taken, I think, about 4 weeks now. Haven't been as consistent as I should because I take it at night, and sometimes you forget. But overall, 0 side effects. I kind of feel like some of those twinges and those little, tweaks sometimes when you're in the gym, I haven't really noticed as much.
Wait, you talk about your shoulder, right? Because you had
Yeah.
I think, a shoulder injury from decades ago, and you said that like when you do shoulder press or chest or certain things like that, sometimes I think it would bother you. How? Because it's probably been way longer than 4 weeks. Has to be.
Yeah, you're probably right. Probably about maybe 6 weeks, I would say.
So how is that? How is that shoulder and stuff doing?
I mean, it's still depends on the movement. Like I said, you had that one movement where you were doing like rear delts, and that one hurt me. And then I was doing John Meadows where you bring the press up straight up, and then you bring it back to your sides and down. And this part, when the weights are in front of me, is when I can feel it a little bit when I start to. So it's not miraculously healing. I mean, I wouldn't put it in the same category as DECA as far as my experience with the shoulder, but it seems like it's helped a little bit. So I'm pretty impressed with it. And then I was also, one of the side effects of MK677 can be, blood sugar and insulin resistance. And I didn't do this consciously, but I'm taking semaglutide at the same time, which, in theory should counteract that to some degree. And
what's your experience with the semaglutide, right?
Semaglutide is pretty wild, man. Like I've only so all right. So week 1, 0.25 milligrams, right? And I actually asked, I was asking you, I was like, can you put it both in the same like HCG and semaglutide? And you were like, I don't know, but probably. So that's what I did, and it so far it works just fine. So I did 0.25 milligrams first week. Didn't feel a thing, nothing, no difference. Then the next week I did the same thing, 0.25 milligram. I did that on a Sunday. On Monday, I woke up and I felt like I was fucking hungover like all day. My stomach felt nauseous, not horrible like I was going to vomit or anything, but it was there. And I just felt groggy. I felt fatigued. I felt like shit that day. And next day,
still 250 micrograms week 1, 250 micrograms week 2.
Yep. So that's the lowest. That's the starter dose. And so I was like, all right. So we'll go Tuesday. So I felt like shit Monday. Tuesday felt fine. Didn't have any nausea. And then I started to feel kind of the benefits from it, or the whatever effects, to where I didn't feel as hungry. Hunger wasn't really as much on my mind. It didn't pop up, and I could still eat no problem. And I did notice that you do feel fuller longer. So it feels like you get fuller easier and you stay fuller longer. So that was pretty interesting. And then, so week 3, what I did is I basically split up the doses. So I did 0.125 milligrams on Monday, 0.125 milligrams on Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, either way. And I didn't have that day where I felt like shit. So not sure if I'm getting used to it. My body's getting used to it, or if breaking up the dosage helped. And for me, it makes no difference. I'm doing HCG injections anyway, so it's just whether it has a little bit of semaglutide or not. So I figured might as well split it up.
That's very interesting. Are you seeing progress in terms of the scale?
Yeah, I went from 210 when I started, and I was 205.8 this morning. Dope. So that's 2.5 weeks, and I'm down, 4 something pounds.
And for reference, like if you look at the studies, a lot of times they'll take like 10x the dose that you're taking.
Yeah.
Like 2.4 milligrams. And like, right? Could you imagine taking 2.4 milligrams?
That's the Wegovy dosage, right? I think they have the pens for 2.4. Yeah, my original plan was to do 0.25 milligrams for the first 4 weeks. That's like the starter protocol. And then you typically would jump up to 0.5 milligrams for another month, see where you're at, and you can just keep increasing until you get the results or the side effects become too drastic, whatever. So I don't know, man. I'm nervous about going up to that 0.5 milligram. I know I'm like we're on the Too Much Test podcast, and I'm like scared of a prescription medicine. I just don't want to feel like shit on a Monday.
Well, it's been what, 3 weeks? This is the third week?
Third week, yeah.
So why, I mean, if you were, how I think about it, right? Like, so you were at 210 and the objective is to lose weight, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you were at 210 and now you're at a little under 206, we should probably tell people that, do we have a medical disclaimer? This is just fucking for fun and for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
We're clearly not.
Yeah. We're just talking about stuff.
Yeah. We're not.
No, we're not doctors at all.
Okay.
Do you really think your doctor has like a purple Ninja Turtle sign on their live stream? You know what I'm saying? Or like all these bottles on this right here? Hell no, I'm not a doctor. I barely graduated college with a 2-year degree.
Okay, so if you're getting results with 250 micrograms, why increase it at all?
It's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, that was my original plan. I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, okay, cool with testosterone.
Yeah, no, it is a little different. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, I originally just wanted to be on 3 months because I know that I actually read the study that they did on the thyroid and the pancreas, which is one of the things, bro. I see people pull, like you mentioned, semaglutide, and like, bro, that's thyroid cancer in a bottle, and I'm like, bro, have you read the study? Like, I actually looked at the study, and I'm going to do a video on it. I mean, the numbers are pretty. Yeah. Anyway,
do you want to share what your thoughts are on the study? Obviously, you don't have like the data in front of you, but you read through. So there's a myth, not a myth. It's reality, but it's not like it's kind of like the fake news a little bit in the sense that semaglutide. They're like semaglutide causes thyroid cancer is the narrative that's pushed out there around semaglutide. However, you can actually go through and read the study, right? The medical literature, and you went through and you were taking a look at that. Do you remember some of the takeaways from looking at that?
I mean, basically, they tested. It's not that they were testing for a lot of stuff. From what I remember, it was, they had the people and the rats in the study, and then they looked. I think it was people. I'm pretty sure it was people. Then they looked at like, what happened to these people while they were on semaglutide or Ozempic, as and I mean, there were lists, it's all kinds of other shit that happened to people, and the thyroid cancer and the pancreas. I mean, it was slightly elevated. I'm talking like, if I remember correctly, like 2 or 3 per 1,000 people. Like it wasn't like 2, 3, 2, 3, 500, 2, 5. It was extremely minimal. Like I don't know what determines statistical significance or what that number is, but it did not seem statistically significant to me.
Yeah, because if you got like 5 people out of 1,000, right? I guess that's reducing the not a number like it could happen, right? But at the same time, like we just said, you're taking 10x less practically than what like a lot of the studies take. In the two, is it Wachovia and Ozempic both do that? I think, or
I think Ozempic goes up to 2, and I think Wegovy goes up to 2.4.
Right.
So I was actually talking to my friend, and she had wanted to do Ozempic, and her insurance wouldn't cover it. And so she had to go because she doesn't have diabetes. Now, this was, I think, a little while ago. So she ended up, her doctor wrote a prescription for Ribelsis, which is the oral version of semaglutide. And I think you have to take I think she said 10 milligrams is like the goal dose, the max dose. And her doctor was saying that no one gets the 10 milligrams because the stomach side effects are just so rough because you're literally introducing semaglutide directly to the gut. So she said it made her puke at 2.5 milligrams. So she just couldn't take it.
Yeah. Have you seen the one? I don't know what the brand is, but it's Lagaride or something like this. It is
liraglutide.
Liraglutide or something.
I think that's a different version of a GLP-1 agonist.
But it's only for one day. So I'm very sensitive to say MT2, melanotan-2, the tanning peptide, and PT141. By the way, I forgot to share this with you. There is another derivative of melanotan-2. I don't remember the name of it. I did a little video on it, and I got to look it up again. But it was interesting. It still has some of the other side effects like sexual and tanning benefits, but it's being researched for something other than that, like the normal things that we have. So that might be interesting to do a video on in the future. But anyways, it's the semaglutide. I don't want to take it because I'm super sensitive to those things for my gut.
Yeah.
Liraglutide has a half-life that's only 24 hours versus like a week for the semaglutide.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of the liraglutide as so say you and your wife are going to go do something with like friends and family or whatever the case is, and you don't want to be like ravenish in terms of pigging out, right? At whatever it is that you're going to hang out with friends and be around that type of food, because you said that you just feel less hungry. So what about using liraglutide as a substitute on those days? Just do the injection on those days where you're going to be doing that thing, because it's got a 24-hour half-life. So either do it the night before or the day of when you're going to do those things. So that way you don't feel like eating as much, and you can kind of control your diet in that way, right? So for a lot of people, they will like go out drinking or partying on Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of thing, or Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever it is for a lot of people.
Throw in Sunday. It's Super Bowl Sunday, so you might as well throw in Sunday too. If you're doing Friday, Saturday, fuck it.
You know how we do, like maybe say an anabolic as a pre-workout Monday through Friday, right? So the idea of using an anabolic Monday through Friday, why not use liraglutide, say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? Because where do people fuck up on their diet most of the time? It's not when you have a schedule. You have a set schedule. You're like, okay, cool. A lot of people are going to work, then they're going to the gym, and then, or vice versa, they go to the gym, then they go to work, and then they like their day's basically done. Then they come home, they might do shit in the house, and then they're done, right, for the day or whatever the case is. They chill with their spouse, and then they're done, right? And that's Monday through Friday. Yeah. And then Friday night, then they're like, oh, it's time to do something, and then that's where they increase the caloric intake, whether it's through food and or drinking, and then the same thing on Saturday and Sunday. So instead of having like where you do the anabolic, say a SARM or Anavar or whatever or something, say Monday through Friday. Now on Friday, you could add in the liraglutide to help like offset that people's like psychological behavior that they do or whatever.
I actually have a story about eating on a weekend on semaglutide. It was last weekend.
Remind me, I want to ask you what the podcast is for this.
Yeah, and then we have to get to that meat study. So we got to get back to the meat. But so I went to a German restaurant, and it's in the country, actually. This is the country of Florida. This is like Hickville, right? It's rednecks, if you don't know that term. But it's this German restaurant that's run by this family. They've run it for like 60 years, and it's like supposed to be fire. And it was. So we get there. My buddy's all amped up. He got the boot. He ordered the big 1 liter boot, and we were passing that around. We got 2 of those. And I had like Jaeger schnitzel, which is like, it was, it's pork cutlet, and it's spatzel, which is like a heavy. Anyway, ate a shit ton of food and drank a lot of beer. And dude, I was so full. Uncomfortably full.
This is on semaglutide.
Yeah, this is on semaglutide. This was week 2. So I took my week 2 dose on Sunday, felt like shit on Monday. And then this is a Saturday after that. And dude, I was so uncomfortably full. We went to a strip club in the country, and it's a shithole place, right? It's not that bad, but it's on the shithole. And here's an interesting thing. So we're in the country, bro. And like, I would say 60% of the strippers were black, like 30% were Spanish, and 10% were white. It was like the opposite demographic of where we were. And I was cool with that. I like some chocolate. So it was, it was good for me. But all my wife, my friend, they were all having a blast, throwing dollars. And I was just like, I was just dead. Like, I had a beer in front of me, and I didn't want to drink it just because I was so full. So,
but still, like, you don't normally, if you weren't on semaglutide, you wouldn't have felt that way at all.
I mean, I would have still been full from eating, but it would have gone away over time. And the semaglutide, I'm talking like, well, the dinner took 3 hours to eat because it's a German family and they're slow as shit, but their food is delicious. So I'd eaten over like a 3 hour period, which, I should have been digesting some of that food. But man, I was full for a while. It put me down. I mean, it's heavy food in general, but I mean, it was, whew. But hey,
Wow.
I still saw the scenery. I had a good time. I was just super full. I just wasn't up and at 'em and fired up and amped up.
Hey, what did you, because I've talked to my girlfriend about going to a strip club too. But what do you think? How was that experience? What was her experience like?
Oh, I brought my wife to many strip clubs. She
Oh yeah.
loves it. Oh yeah, she has a fun time. And dude, it's so if you're a girl and you go to a strip club, there's different rules for girls and guys at the strip club. Like my girl can walk up to a stripper, put $1 in there and give her a smack on the ass, and the girls like it. It's all good. I do that shit, bro. I'm getting thrown the fuck out the back door. So, and man, those girls deal with a lot. So those bouncers have to keep the girl safe. But if you're a girl and you do that, dude, I mean, unless you're like super inappropriate, but they don't really care.
No. I want to, before, maybe we'll have to save the meat study. How long are we doing? How long? 30 minutes or 45 minutes?
We typically do like 30, 35.
Okay. So we might save the meat study for the next episode then.
Episode 49. Episode 49, we'll have 3 studies to check out. So that'll be like a studies one. We'll nerd out.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you,
Sam heard strippers and he just like changed course. It was like 180 strippers. All right, let's do it. How much time we got?
Yeah. I was like, let's carry on with this conversation. No. Okay. So the podcast, right? So this is more on the data side of things. Gets published on YouTube and it gets published on Spotify and all the major platforms. The software we're using to publish on, does that give us any analytics? I'm super curious to hear about that, and we'll just leave it. It'll be really short, but I want the audience to also hear like where we're sitting, because the audience is actually the people who, if you're listening to this, you're the one who's helping us grow by like leaving us a review, sharing this with other people. So I want to give these updates every once in a while about how we're doing and how we're growing, because our objective is to actually grow the podcast. And I think sharing that experience with you guys as we go through and do this will be a fun journey. So
I'll have to if you want to talk about something else, we could switch subjects. I'm not logged into the platform that we share everything from, so I don't have the stats, but we could do the stats on the next one. Well, next one, episode 50.
Yes. Okay. Well, we can do that on there.
We're getting about 100 on average, 100 views a video on average. And our audience size is about 100 every 7 days. About 100 people listen to 100 individual people listen to it. So it's growing. It's just slower.
Yeah.
It's just, we're underground, and I'm sure Anchor and Spotify, I'm sure they have algorithms too. They don't like this type of shit.
Yeah. I wonder
unless you're Joe Rogan.
The reviews, I wonder, I've heard in other podcasts that the reviews are very, very helpful, because there's not like a discovery mechanism for podcasts. There's no like, discovery thing or way to go about, finding, podcasts other than like word of mouth or things like that. Because even if you have 5-star reviews, it doesn't do diddly squat unless somebody's like searching for your shit, or you're like the top echelon of podcasts.
I don't have this up front, and then we're not formally talking about this. I'm actually going to do a video on my YouTube channel about this. So they did a study, and I don't have the exact details, but the study basically showed that Cialis and Viagra led to longevity and less heart disease when taken for a while. So, I mean, we kind of already know that. I mean, Cialis and Viagra do help lower blood pressure, help kind of relieve the blood pressure system of pressure, your vascular systems. It kind of eases everything. And I dropped down my Cialis dose to like 5-6 milligrams a day from 10. I just wanted to see, like, am I still going to get the same benefits from the 5? And if so, it's just going to cost me less to run. And I'm going to test it tonight on the wife and see if I get the same effect.
Hey, do you ever?
I hope I will.
I'm sure you'll be fine, and you can let us know. You can let us know in the next episode or episode 50. Do you ever take your blood pressure?
I used to sit in the machines at like Publix and do it right there, but I don't do it consistently.
I have one at home. I don't actually take Cialis every day because I have 20 milligram like capsules, and it's like powder, and so I just take 20 milligrams, but I might take it 1 to 3-ish times per week.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't think this has the direct effect on blood pressure. I know it can have the positive effect on blood pressure, but the last several times that I've checked my blood pressure, other than like, because the last time I checked my blood pressure, I checked it and it was like 116/64, right? Amazing blood pressure, right?
Yeah.
If you know blood pressure, it's 120/80. The 120 is like when your heart is contracting, and as it's relaxing, as it's just sitting there, think of like your car in idle. That's the 80, right? So both of those numbers were low. And then I had my phone out and I'm looking at my phone, and somebody was being a dickhole on somewhere, and I'm responding to them, but I'm also I was like kind of enjoying it, like the response of the back and forth. And then I was like, okay, cool, because I could feel that I was more excited, or like whatever you want to say it was.
Yeah.
And I put the blood pressure thing back on and checked my shit again. It was 140 over something. So it's like, it's so easily manipulated, but like recognizing those moments where you can sense that you're like, you can tell when you're aware of the things that are agitate. I don't want to say agitating you, because everything is a response, right? Like
excites you.
Yeah, but like it's like we choose to be excited from those things, or we're choosing to be frustrated from this thing, or whatever. That's how I see like the world, and so recognizing those things for myself over the last like 2 years, because it was like consistently in the 130s and 140s, like just shitty blood pressure. Now I'm consistently in the 120 to below 120 and below like say 80 or say like 70-ish or something like that.
Blood pressure is crazy, because when I go to donate blood, it's not as bad now because I've gotten used to it. But like the first couple of times I went to donate blood, like, I'm not a big fan of needles, which is weird because I talk about TRT all day, and also it's a 16 gauge, which is a fat boy. But yeah, it's a 16 gauge to the vein, and you have to get your heartbeat under 100, or else they kick you out. And I think they check your blood pressure as well. And so there was one time where I went there, my heart rate was too high, and I had to sit there for like 5 minutes and just almost like meditate. And I get up again, it's still above, so it sent me home. But it's just interesting. I've also gone there where I'm too high on blood pressure and heartbeat. And then I could sit there and I'll like meditate, and I was able to get it down to where I could donate. So that's like 5-10 minutes. You could change it from not being able to donate blood to being able to donate blood just by breathing, using your brain, relaxing. That's why I think all those monks that meditate, they probably had fantastic blood pressure.
But then also think about like those people who live in that state of agitation. Like, the poison that they're feeding themselves, right? And like how bad that is for their body. We were talking about you had said something that brought up blood work. So I got a CBC panel done recently. And I just pulled it up, and nothing is out of range. And
nice.
and I hadn't checked the hematocrit in a little while, which something you should pay attention to if you're taking testosterone. And I'm on the upper edge of that, right? 47.8 versus like, say the range is 38.5 to 50 from the lab I'm using. So I would like to, at some point I'm going to go get give blood and actually see how that goes through and affects that number. But everything else was in range, which is, and I'm not saying that anybody else should do any of this stuff, but in all honesty, bro, I haven't given blood in 3 years or 3 years, and I've been on testosterone in 4 years.
And that's interesting. And that's what I've read a lot recently on that is it seems to be a lot of guys when they start TRT, let's just say you don't have any pre-existing conditions. Like if you're 300 pounds and you smoke and that, it's a different story, but like normal guys, they'll typically see elevated hematocrit and red blood cells for like 12 to 18 months. And then a lot of guys will just kind of level out, you know, like, I mean, you're under the range and you're under the range decently. Would you say 48 something?
47.8.
Bro, that's not bad. Like most places that I've talked to, because I worked with a couple different TRT clinics as an affiliate, and I asked them questions and stuff, and they don't really worry too much until you start getting into like the 52, 55 range.
Really?
Like that's where a lot of them will be like, yo, you need to get drained, bud.
Oh, interesting.
And then there's a whole group of people that think you don't even need to donate blood on TRT because your hematocrit's not high because of polycythemia. It's because and they'll point to people who live at elevation and, you know, different stuff. But that's probably another video. We could wrap this one up if you wanted to. Go to episode 50. We're going to talk about meat and how meat, if you don't eat meat, you may be a pussy.
Yes. And that's and you also probably have mental issues too if you don't eat meat. Seriously though, you guys have to tune into episode 49 to see the study, and want to just close this out? You have anything else, or I'm just going to end this?
No, just check out the links and all the stuff. Check out our sponsors. Don't hit me up on Instagram. I'm over Instagram. Find me on TikTok or YouTube.
But you can go to Instagram, Test Your Levels, to find his TikTok and to find his YouTube. Just go to Test Your Levels at Instagram or sam.stolt to find all my shit. So you guys,
drop me a follow on Instagram. Make me hate it less.
Yes. Bro, you should get into your messages more. But we'll see you guys in